Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. You know, the best advice I've ever heard was to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Half-Bred Barbie. I didn't even give her a chance. My narcissistic mom found my main Reddit and was very obviously well and truly pissed after reading through the posts I put up in that group, because over 10,000 wonderful beings all came together to validate that she is, in fact, a horrible human being. She even went as far as to try and comment on the posts, which gave them a field day. When she confronted me about it, I was floored, mostly because I have no idea how she found the darn thing. My phone was still under her name at the time, and she kept screaming about how she was going to cut it off because I had actually found support for once, unless I deleted my Reddit. Here's how I reacted. We exchanged a few choice words, and then I took myself off of her phone plan since she needed my PIN to do so. Open up a line with another provider entirely under my own name, payment plan on the phone, freak my life, it's 23 payments, drop the old one on her doorstep after I'd wiped it clean and reset it, and changed my number. My sister called me an hour or so after I dropped it off and said our mother was hysterically crying and could I just come get the phone. I didn't even reply, I just clicked that, and it felt so good. Next thing on the agenda, the darn car. In a situation like this, where you're being told to either give up a source of comfort for yourself or face losing something that they're paying for you, would you rather take a dive and foot the bill yourself rather than give up that source of comfort, even if it causes more arguments down the road? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Cherison1976. Is it hot enough yet? Okay, here's a bit of a flip from the norm. This is a bit of malicious compliance my mom pulled on me when I was about 14. Just thought of it when reading another one about chili. The only characters are myself and my mom. I came into the kitchen one day and my mom was making some chili. She was using a pre-packaged spice blend that she bought that she had never used before. She wanted to try that since not everyone in the house liked the same level of heat from their chili. This way, after the batch was made, she could add more to the individual bowls afterwards to kick the heat up. She asked me how hot I would like my bowl to be. Well, me being the little smart butt I was, I stated that she couldn't make it hot enough for me. Well, she read the recommended amount of spice for a full pot of chili, multiplied that by 4, and added it to my bowl. Needless to say, the toilet in the guest bathroom and myself had some extended time together that evening, and I never popped off like that to my mom again. Not when it involved anything I was going to eat anyway. A lot of these stories have taught me a very, very valuable lesson, and that is don't joke around or mess around with people who prepare your food. If you're gonna get smart with somebody and say, oh, it isn't sour enough, oh, it isn't hot enough, don't be too surprised if they do make it where your tongue feels like it's gonna fall off. At least that's what all these stories are teaching me. This next story is by Crystal Wolf Cub 34. Rude lady gets what she deserves. So, it was around midday, and I was in Scarborough with a friend/sister. Diamond, of mine, and I wanted to get a little bit of spending money. And Diamond suggested that I do Uber Eats cause 1, it was super busy down there as a lot of people were ordering out, and 2, she wanted to see how the Uber Eats delivering app works for the drivers. And that's what we did for the day when I got an order that still irks me as well as made me laugh. So we pick up Rude Lady's order, and I had just finished with the first drop-off and didn't even have my seatbelt on when I got a message from Rude Lady. The Rude Lady said, hey, when you get to my house, don't put the order by the door. My door opens out, not in. If you fail to do so, you won't get your tip, and we both know how much you need it since you can't get a real job. That was the text. This made me mad, and Diamond, who also saw the message, made a joke saying how I should leave it by her trash bins. Well, when we got to her address, it had begun to rain. Not heavy rain, but like a little pour. So I followed what her text said. I didn't leave her food by the door. I dug a hole in a pot that was a little muddy due to the rain and put her paper-bagged food in it there. I had to take a picture of where I left her order and left her with this message. Your order was not left at the door as requested. Enjoy your meal. And I left. Both me and Diamond laughed like crazy when I got back to the car, and it got better as Rude Lady didn't even come outside before giving me a $4 tip. Like really, Rude Lady thought I would feel hurt if I didn't get a $4 tip. Please, I could more at my actual job. I used to work for CPS, Canadian Property Stars, before getting a job at Amazon, as CPS doesn't run during the winter. The good thing is, after all this, Uber Eats didn't actually reprimand OP at all. You would think a rude lady like that who gets kind of messed over would jump at the chance to talk to some kind of support staff and be like, look what this driver did. Apparently an agent tried to call OP, but they just kept laughing and nothing really happened, so it's a win-win for OP. Our next story is by Desperate Pop 4347. It's not 80 degrees yet? Bet. My AC went out tonight for the second time this summer. Last time it was out for 4 days and they kept promising to bring us the portable unit, and never did, and at the end of our week from heck, our apartment was 94 degrees. In July, in Georgia. Anyways, I call the emergency residence line and leave an urgent message for the on-call maintenance guy. He calls back and was extremely rude. Honestly, he screamed and cussed at me and I cried because I'm a wimp in confrontations and I cry when I'm mad. He tells me it's in my lease, the temperature has to be 80 for him to come fix it. It's too late to come fix it, he says to me. It's in my lease, he says. Well, I read the whole darn thing and it says nothing about 80 degrees, but okay. The man's from Massachusetts and knows nothing about the temps here. It's 76 when I call him at 9:06 p.m. It rained, and when it stopped, I checked a couple of weather apps. Wouldn't you know it, the humidity made it worse and now it's 81. So I call again at 11:24 p.m. and inform him it's over 80 degrees in my apartment, and now he has to come fix it. He's almost done, and it already feels cooler in here. It's the temperature of sweet, sweet malicious compliance. Don't want to fix it at 9 p.m. because you're mad you're on call like that's my fault? Enjoy coming out at almost midnight. Shouldn't have been rude is all I can say. Maybe the 80 degrees requirement was in some on-call maintenance guy's company or something, but even though the guy said that it was in the lease, I feel like that alone tells you that there's another party kind of overarching here that might be more responsible for the confusion rather than necessarily the maintenance call guy. Or maybe he was lazy and just making it all up. This next story is by Gong DH, Flute Playing Test. So I'm a music education major, and I'm in flute and saxophone methods class. We had a playing test today, but half the students have to play in person, and the other half has to submit virtually. Now, I prefer to play in person because it's the most accurate of my true sound, plus I like to get it over with. Today, when I volunteered to play, I was told I had to submit virtually. I was a little frustrated, so I decided I would take my flute to the bathroom, aka a practice room, and record the test and submit it during class time. It was not the teacher's idea of when to submit, but now they have my test. I think ironically, OP picked the room with the best acoustics. Well, if they actually went to the bathroom, of course. This next story is by Thama's Childhood Malicious Compliance. So this is my mom's malicious compliance using me because my teacher was being ridiculous. When I was in first grade, it was my first year of public school as I'd been in Montessori school the previous years, so I had a much freer form of learning. On to the story. I was an advanced kid knowing multiplication/high reading levels for first grade, so I would generally finish my classwork quickly and then go to the back of the classroom, where my teacher had books available for free reading time. I would go, get a book, come back to read, then the teacher would come over and ask why I was reading. I'd show her my work completed, then be told to put the book away and put my head down since I was done with my work. We went through this routine until the 3-week mark, as that's when progress reports went home, and I had a note from my teacher saying I was disobedient for always reading after I finished my work. When my mom saw this, she made a meeting and met with my teacher and principal, saying, "What in the heck is this? My son wants to read when he's done, not lay his head down." Teacher claims my constant reading is disruptive, and the principal backs her up. My mom comes home mad and tells me to doodle on all my schoolwork because I needed to look busy. For the rest of the year, my teacher had to deal with barely legible work covered in doodles because she didn't want me to read. This also led to my parents moving out of the school district because of how unsupportive the school was. The only form of disruptiveness of a kid's reading after doing work is if they were literally reading out loud. How would anybody disrupt anybody else by sitting by their desk reading a book? That's like the least disruptive thing you could do. Makes me feel concerned about all the kids that go to a school like this that are willing to be like, "No, you don't have to read, just put your head down. Don't worry about any of that reading stuff. Kids already don't read enough as it is." Our next story is by an anonymous bear. You want any haircut as long as it's not all shaved off? Okay. Usually when I go to a barber, I tell them that I'll allow them to have creative freedom to make my hair look as good as they think it should be. No need to be picky and exactly what I want. Just use your skills to make me look as good to the best of your ability. I usually joke, give me anything you want, as long as you don't shave it all off. Well, be careful what you wish for. Instead of shaving it all off, she took almost all of my hair down to a buzz cut, similar to what they wear in the army. I look terrible, but I asked for this. Now, I'm going out on a limb here, but I would assume in most careers where you have customers coming in to get a custom work done, the last thing you really want to hear is a customer going, do whatever you want, to the best of your ability. Because a lot of the time, it just comes down to what a person personally thinks looks good. It's like taking your car to the body shop and saying, just do whatever you think looks the best. It's like, well, it actually matters more what colors you like, what styles you like, what detailing you like. The guys at the shop can wing it and do something they think looks cool, but it just seems kind of opposite the point of what they're trying to do with their services. Our next story is by IRKW, Loan Payoff, Early Payoff Penalty Avoidance. I took a loan out some years ago. It had an early payoff penalty of a percentage of the payoff, but no penalty for paying more than the regular payment. I didn't like that provision, but the guy who helped me with the loan said just to pay it down to $1, then pay it off. The penalty would be less than $1. So I get some money after a while and go in to pay. I tell them I want to pay the loan down to $1, then pay the loan off. The guy works up the papers as if I'm paying it all off, and he includes the penalty. I explain again what I want to do. He explains the penalty again. I say, I'll be happy to pay the penalty on the $1. He says I can't do that. There's a penalty of much higher amount. We go around and they pretend not to understand. Finally, a supervisor comes. He totally understands and basically stops with the games. I said not to worry. I'd never have taken the loan without the reduced penalty payoff option, so they got more interest out of me than if I declined the loan in the beginning. I pay the fraction of $1 penalty, and the loan was satisfied. I feel like at some point, if I got stuck in that loop, eventually I'd say, okay, never mind, I just want to pay so-and-so amount that then leaves the account at exactly $1. And that's it, I don't want to pay it off right now. Then you can walk out of the building, turn around, walk right back in and say, I'd like to pay off that $1. I don't know if it would work, but it's probably what I would try. This next story is by Gamasco. Can't cancel but can reschedule? Fair enough. I had booked a train ticket that I wanted to cancel and get a refund for. Sorry sir, you have to cancel your ticket at least 1 week before the trip in order to have a refund. You can only reschedule it and you'll only pay the price difference. I say, fair enough. Can you reschedule the ticket to 1 month later? They say, sure thing. That'll be so-and-so for the price difference. I say, okay, thanks. And then I went on the website to cancel this new ticket, getting a full refund because it was well over a week prior. I couldn't believe it actually worked. I think they fixed it now. Good for them. I love hearing about these little loophole things, these 1,000 IQ plays. The sad thing is when people finally wise up like OP and take advantage of that system, they usually do patch it pretty quickly. But it's great for people like OP because you can look back on it and be like, look at this triumph I did. And our final story of the day is by Free Crude Oil. You want to listen to music in class? Sure. I'm a high school teacher who tends to have a good relationship with the students, and as such, the administration would always assign the difficult classes to me. There was this one class that annoyed the heck out of me with being belligerent and pestered me at every lesson. I had a good rapport with them, even though I dreaded our lessons together. One day, a group of girls in the class got in their heads that if they pestered me enough, that I'd let them listen to music in class. Studies have shown music to detract from learning, and I explained that to the girls. They wouldn't accept no as an answer and kept on railroading my lesson. Finally, I gave in on one condition, that I get to pick the first song. They agreed and were so excited. I log onto my laptop and connect up the sound system to it. I started a 10-hour version of Sandstorm by Darude. I played it for the rest of the lesson, which was roughly 50 minutes. They laughed and thought it was funny. Some complained later that afternoon that it was still on repeat in their heads. The next lesson, the girls asked again for music. I said, sure, let's do it, and continued Sandstorm from where we left off. We did another 50 minutes, this time with a lot of complaints from the girls, and only ended when the teacher came in from the neighboring classroom and lost his crap at me. I laughed when the other teacher left along with the students. It was about 5 weeks until someone was brave enough to ask if they could listen to music in class again. Really, any teacher that kind of extends a little past those guidelines or normal teacher expected actions, those are the ones that feel really special and you can really adore after a short amount of time. Any teacher that is willing to play a 10-hour loop of Darude Sandstorm during class, awesome in my books. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.